Hey there, you found Cameras and Car Seats, the podcast for photographers who are tired of being told to hustle harder while trying to remember if you grabbed diapers at your last Target run. I'm Jamie, your destination adventure elopement photographer who somehow manages to adventure with couples while raising tiny humans.
And I'm Alex, holding down the Lincoln logs in the Midwest traditional wedding scene, proving you can crush those weekend weddings and still make it to family dinner. If you're editing in the pickup line, scheduling client calls during nap time, or just trying to figure out how to run a profitable photography business without sacrificing your family life, you're in the right place. We're dropping real, actionable advice that actually works for mom photographers.
No bro marketing, no toxic hustle culture, just two photographer moms keeping it real about making this whole business thing work while raising our families. So grab your watered down iced coffee.
Ignore that pile of laundry for another hour or day.
And let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to talk all about boundaries, the topic that I think gets a little sticky when we think about mom life, business life, and all the things we want to grow. We want to make sure our clients are happy, but how in the heck can we do all that while maintaining a happy personal life and family life? Let's dive in.
Well, and sometimes I think people are like, oh, boundaries make me mean. Boundaries deflect business. And it's like, okay, well, the business it's deflecting, that's a good thing.
I have never had more success and happiness in my business since setting boundaries for a couple reasons. One, it makes me happy. Like, I don't feel like I used to wake up all the time and it was like, oh, okay, I have an email. I need to answer that at 2 a.m. Or, oh, I need to make sure I get this thing to them because otherwise they're going to be mad, right? And having boundaries and having hard set boundaries gives me a time to be like, nope, I don't have to answer that right now. I don't have to do that right now. But it also gives my clients expectations. And there's not this muddy gray area of like, when are my clients expecting this thing? Because I didn't tell them when they should necessarily expect this thing. And it also is so freeing. And it gives you a sense of respect from your client's perspective too. Because they're like, oh, okay, these are her like hours. These are when she'll get back to me and they know what to expect.
Well, and I also feel like boundaries differ. So I feel like there's this pyramid in my head when I think about boundaries. And it starts with how old are you? Because the way that millennials respond and Gen X responds and boomers and what's the youngest? What are the babies? What are the 20-year-olds? Are they Gen Z? I don't know. Whatever the babies are that were born 2005 plus. But like everyone has started to respond to different things based honestly what their age is. Because like I feel like millennials do this thing where it's like, maybe if you get back to me, kind of, but don't be mad. But then like the younger generations, I've noticed like, no, work stops at 5. Because I'm like, if you're looking at any other girly pop out there that's in a 9-to-5 job and you see those funny TikToks, RIP TikTok. If you see those funny videos out there that are just like, she slams her laptop shut at 5, like, nope, I'm done. You're not paying me to work after 5. That's what boundaries is. But the thing is, you don't have a boss. You are the boss. You make that boundary. It's not mean. It's saving you your sanity and giving you that separation of church and state, for lack of better words.
You don't have that like clock in, clock out. And most of us as moms, business owners, we work at our home. There are, the few that like go to an office to get their work done. But I feel like for the majority part, we run our business because we want to have a family life that works well with our business. And so most of the time we just do that from home. And so we have to draw those lines. We have to make those boundaries. There's not going to be a boss, like you said, telling us, okay, do this or don't do this or clock in, clock out. Like we have to set that boundary for ourselves in whatever that works for our personal life and hard stop.
Yeah. And I feel like we could sit here and just be like, okay, hard boundary that you have to have. And I feel like for the most part, it's kind of similar. It's going to look a little bit different where it's like set that boundary from the beginning. Like, what are your work hours? When can they expect a response from you? When can they expect the final product? If it is digital images, if it is an album, set those hard boundaries. And then as more things pop up, start to reevaluate those boundaries. It's like, where could I be better? Where could I make a change? Where could I reinforce it? And where can I make sure I don't have a boundary like this crossed again?
Well, and also it flexes and changes with the seasons you're in, right? Like my boundaries were so much more different when all my girls were younger versus now when they're a little bit older and I have one younger one. They definitely change. Even on the time of year, like during business season, busy season, we're going to have different boundaries than during slow season. And so learning that it's okay and like to constantly like, I kind of do like a quarterly check-in. Like, okay, this quarter, like what are my boundaries? What am I answering on like different hours or different days. And it's okay to do that. I feel like sometimes we feel like, okay, these are our boundaries and now what? And not realizing that like our life is growing and changing. And so it's okay for our boundaries to kind of like wave and grow too.
I mean, like who I was even 3 months ago, my boundaries have changed.
Yes.
And I know I'm deep in the toddler world. So it's like my kids are growing super fast and changing super fast, but my business is also changing super fast right now because we're launching so many things and it's super exciting. And we have declared that we are in a hustle year. So we are kind of a little bit more flexible with some of our boundaries in the past because we are trying to build something, create something, and grow our businesses versus just maintaining them. Like we've decided this is not a maintaining year. This is a growing year.
Yes. And even when you say like hustle, it's like hustling with boundaries.
Yes.
You know, like we still have our family times, like, and I still have my non-negotiables. I feel like there are so many different types of boundaries. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's overall business boundaries. There's client boundaries and communication boundaries. There's personal boundaries, like there's relationship boundaries. Mm-hmm. I feel like this last like 6 months has been like a whoa.
Welcome to therapy. No, seriously, welcome to therapy with Alex and Jamie. We will be your hosts this evening or morning.
I just feel like you need to figure out what your boundaries are in the season that you're in. And having boundaries is so much more than just like, okay, I will or won't do this, right? Like, let's talk a little bit. I would love to ask you, Jamie, what's one thing when it came to your business that you implemented to set boundaries that like changed the game for you?
I think it started for sure when I got a CRM because then I was able to add that. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. And that's when I stopped responding to say like Facebook Messenger. And I started putting like an auto responder, like, hey, just so you know, these messages often get missed. Please reach out to me in my email. And it's like the tiniest little thing, but it helps my ADHD in a way, just be like, please funnel your communication into these two channels. Like, I don't mind if clients text me once we're already scheduled and booked. But like for the most part, I prefer email because that's where I can keep it organized. I have different subfolders in my email. If you know me, you know I hate red dots. So I have to have everything organized. So if they can reach out to me that way, I can word dump and sit at my computer and get back to them and be fully present with them in that moment versus I'm driving somewhere and I see a text come through and then I forget about it.
Yes. Okay. I also only laugh because Jamie basically has a heart attack anytime she looks at my phone because I have like 70 unread text messages and like 20 missed calls. And then I have like thousands in my email. She's like, I'm managing our email account because delete. That's a button you don't know.
We were literally just bantering about this. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
But one for me was my client expectation email.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That is like changed the game for me because then up front after a client books me, I send out an automated email. Hello, CRM, #honeybook, #.
You guys should see my face right now.
But I have an email that goes out and it says like, these are the days I work. This is that like the channel that you can contact me on, right? Email. If you message me elsewhere, like I might not get back to it right away. I might not see it, but if you need me, like that's where you can find me. Those hours, the what to expect, when to expect everything. It lays everything out. So it releases me from feeling like, oh, well, they're probably expecting an answer from their email at this time. When really it's like, oh no, like we said back in that email, like they know when to expect it. And so it releases me to be like, oh, it's after 3:00. Like for me, I'm done for the day. So if I get one, I don't need to respond right away.
I include it in my email signature. All emails responded to Monday through Fridays only. If they hear from me out like on a Saturday or Sunday, they're like, oh, cool, Jamie, what are you doing? And I'm just like, oh, I literally opened my laptop for 2 seconds. I'm traveling or like I'm sitting in my hotel or it's nap time and I had 2 seconds to respond to you. So I'm going to, but they aren't expecting it. And I'm not saying like it's, I really don't like the saying over promise and, or under promise and over deliver because I feel like that's setting you up for failure. I personally just don't relate to it. It's like promise what you're going to promise and then deliver it. But like if I'm sending an email every once and again on a Saturday, they're just like, oh, cool. Thanks for getting back to me. Go enjoy your family time. Like they know that, and it's not mean to like set boundaries.
Yes. And one that I'm going to be implementing here soon is when we go on vacation. I'm going to have an autoresponder, an out of office email, and it says, hey, like I'm out of state right now. You can expect a response when I get back, making sure that all my work is done up to the point of when I need to get back. Right. But making sure that it's constant communication. So it's not like I'm not sending that out and people are emailing me and then I feel like, oh, I should probably get back. I should probably let them know that I'm not here. You know, just being in communication, but also setting it up in a way that makes it easier for you too.
I think we're trying to talk to all of our people-pleasing anxiety girlies right now. We see you. We've been you. Trust us. Send these emails up front. Automate them. Don't be scared to set your rules. Your rules are what make you you. It's what makes your business your business. And it allows you to be a business and to be a person outside of your business.
Yes. And I think too, like I know photographers too who work like have office days like 1 or 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. I think it's so easy to look at other people and be like, oh, well, I should be working like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, right? Like those are the times I should email. You can run a successful business while saying, okay, I get back to emails on these days through this time, and your business isn't going to light on fire. Like it will be okay. Like you can set those boundaries. And I've been able to grow my business more while having boundaries because I have those clear lines. I'm not constantly like, oh crap, this tab, this person, this response. Like setting those up is so freeing.
Well, and even like, I know we're friends. I think I unfollowed you on, no, I'm just kidding. But I know not to expect you to talk to me on Sundays. Yeah. Because like Sundays you're doing your other, which is so funny because like I still consider Sunday a rest day, but I know your normal routine on Sundays and it's like, hey, this is a hard stop. I never podcast. I never do this. And it's like, I don't even bother asking because it's like, I know this is what you choose to do. These are your rules. These are your, no, I'm not going to do this. And it's like, I respect you for that. People will give you the same respect photography wise.
Exactly. Yeah. Sundays are a hard like reset day for me, whether I'm like taking it slow and spending time with family or I'm waking up at 6 a.m. to go lead worship at church. And then I have a full day of stuff. It's like, that's a day reserved for doing my family things. And we need those reset days.
We do.
Whether it's Sunday, whether it's Monday, whether it's Wednesday, like whatever it is, like you need days. Your business can still grow while you take a break.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like for me, I usually need that time to stay up late. So like the funny part is my quote unquote boundary email right now is, hey, I'm a stay at home mom during the day. You're probably going to get an email from me at 10 o'clock at night because that's my current work hours. And that's fine if I'm emailing you right now between 8 and midnight because that's my current zone of genius for the time I'm in my current season of life. I'm not saying it's for everybody.
Right.
But that's just how it works for me right now because I'm literally with my kids all day.
Yeah. And right now for me, like my older two are in school. So for me, it's like, oh, that like 9 to 3 is a really good time for me to get work done.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I feel like it doesn't matter if your boundaries are one thing and another photographer are another. It's what's working for you in this season. Where do you want to go so that you are growing your business? Like you're working on your business, not necessarily just in your business.
Exactly. And it translates to everything too. I think because nobody is giving us these okays or these like parameters, right? Because we run our own business and we're moms and we're doing all these things. Even when it comes to like gallery delivery, like we were talking about too, you know, where it's like, no, you don't have to deliver something in like 2 to 4 weeks. Like you can have these boundaries set as long as your communication is clear. That's okay.
I'm trying to think. So what other boundaries do you set with your clients? Like off the top of your head, besides just like expectations, is there something like when it comes to style guides, is there, if you were planning a session, like, hey, because I think a photographer asked this in a Facebook group, or I saw it on Threads where they were like, when I say our shoot's at 5 o'clock, I mean, I want to start shooting at 5, don't show up at 4:50. And then like I saw another photographer, well, you need to communicate that.
I always joke that I'm like type C if there was one. Okay. So when it comes to me and my business and running engagement sessions, I don't, this is probably a really unpopular thing. I do not time my engagement sessions. I don't. Like, we'll meet at a time and it's depending on like locations and everything, but like we'll show up at a certain time. Let's say it's like 4 p.m. and then we'll start rolling with it. And I tell my couples, I don't time these sessions because this is the one time I get to see you before your wedding day. I don't want you to feel rushed. I want you to feel comfortable. I want to hang out with you. I want to get to know you so that way when I walk in the door on your wedding day, it's like, oh, we're already friends. We're chill. This is cool. So you can run your business however you want. Another photographer might look at me and be like, well, you're wasting your time or you're wasting what, like, I don't time them. I just don't. And that's how my business functions well for me. But I know if you're a family photographer, like, I feel like that is a whole other ball game because yes, you run on time slots essentially. Right.
Well, and like, I think when I saw, I think it really was Threads. It was either Threads or a Facebook group. And I feel like when I saw that, it's like, oh, if you want your clients to show up exactly at 5, you can send an email that's like, hey, show up at this time. I'm one of those people that I'm like, please show up 5 minutes early because I know the types of clients I attract and they're always 5 minutes late, which is why I tell them their sessions at a certain time so that I know they'll be there by a certain time. And I just know my clients. That's just how they all run on their own time clock. And I know that about them. So I tell them what to do, knowing they'll actually be there.
When I did mini sessions a lot, I would do that. Like I had scheduled emails that would go out like an hour before and then like a day before and all of that. And it said, we shoot at this time strictly from this time to this time. Like this is your time. If you show up late, like we're still done at this time.
Right. Well, and like if you're running marathon days, if you're running... Cause I've done like motherhood minis last year and I had one person late and I'm like, I have a session after you. Unfortunately, this is all we have for this time slot. I was able to like rearrange like in like my break period, but like I technically like didn't have to. Granted, I'm one of those people, I'm flexible and it was towards the end of that morning session. So it worked. It was fine. But I feel like those are things that you can do. It's like, hey, hard stop. This is what will happen if this happens.
Exactly. I think that's the whole like premise of everything is like you have your own boundaries and what works for you. Like where I was saying, I not timing my engagement session, like that probably might not work for somebody else. You know, like I have the flexibility because my husband also has a super flexible job and is home most of the time. So I'm able to do that because that's just what works for me in this season. And so for somebody else, like if you need to have those boundaries, communicate that.
I was gonna say for me, it's the opposite. Like Mark does not get off work until 4 right now, but it might be changing. So that means I have to reevaluate my fall schedule. So that means based on sunset, everyone knows October, it starts to go quick. And I unfortunately cannot do sessions on these days. It has to be these days. These are the times I have childcare. And if these don't work, unfortunately, it's not going to work.
Exactly. Well, and even with those types of boundaries, I don't shoot engagements on the weekends. So I have certain types of sessions that I do on certain times. So like if I'm walking through my week, like Monday nights are our date nights. So I do not work on Monday nights regardless. And then Tuesdays are the days that I'm free, so I can do sessions on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, I also do not work because I usually help with like the kids and stuff at church, so I don't do that night. But then I'm free on Thursdays and Fridays. So like I have 3 shoot days a week, and my clients have never had a problem with that because I communicate it up front.
Okay, pause. You just brought up a very good point that I feel like a lot of photographers don't think about, and that's having specific shooting days, specific office days, and editing days. And I kind of forgot about it until you legit just said that because I also do that. I typically shoot on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Tuesday, Thursdays, and that's just kind of how it worked out with babysitter times. But Tuesday, Thursdays, I would have office time from a set time, and then I would have editing time from a set time. So I feel like that is a bomb for photographers to take in. Like, you are allowed to set certain days of the week where you shoot and certain days you don't. And I also recommend, especially my Midwest photographers, make sure you schedule in rain days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like and one reason I don't schedule sessions on Saturdays is because I'm very protective of my weekends. So one thing that's been hard as my kids get older and are in school is I'm not around them a lot during the week. And so that's why those night times are like really important to us and why Sundays are so important. because when they were younger, it was like, oh, well, I see them all the time. This is easy. But as they've gotten older, it's like, oh crap, like Nora has soccer games on Saturdays. And like it's becoming a little bit more difficult. And while it's fine because I'm there in the mornings, I'm there when they get home from school, it still is hard. And so I'm like, okay, if I have weddings on these days, I know when to anticipate those days. I'm in control of my schedule. So I'm not going to schedule sessions on Saturdays, because when I don't have a wedding on a Saturday, that is again like sacred time.
Which is, yeah, like honestly, now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, I'm with my kids all day. I love going to a session quick on Saturday right now because it's just a little bit of mommy time. I get lunch by myself and then I go work and I just get to feel like a human. And then I come home and go back to mom.
Right. And I was so there. And now that my kids are older, it's like, okay, no.
Come back to me.
Like, I'm missing soccer games sometimes. And I'm missing, but talking with my husband, like if you're in this season, he's like, you know what? They'll remember, like, you were there in the morning. You were there when they got home from school. You're there on Sundays. And he's like, and I'm here. So like, even if you're not here on Saturdays, like I am. Like it's at least one of us is always there.
Right. And like, we're not saying work away your childhood, like your child's childhood. It's so funny hearing different perspectives right now. Cause I'm like, I love going to Saturday sessions every once in a while. And now you're like, nope, not doing it anymore. And I'm like, okay, so I will be there in 4 years. Got it.
Well, and that's another thing. We're taking our first vacation in like a week and a half that we've taken in like 4 years, just as our family. And I was realizing like, wow, okay, we need to do this more, and having an excuse where it's an actual vacation. Because before, when I was on vacation, I was like, photo opportunity. Like
I was about to say, and bring Jamie, but then it would turn into a work trip.
I was like, work trip. Or I was like, do I bring my camera and like ask random couples? And then I was like, stop, shut it off.
It cannot shut up.
Like, enjoy the time, because this is why we work, right? Like, this is why we set boundaries. This is why we work, so we can have these experiences with our family. And it's okay to, I'm just reminding myself this, it's okay to shut your brain off to do these things.
This is why we work. Okay, this is the message. Alex just said it. This is why we work. This is why we set boundaries, so that we can go have carefree family time, unplugged, no guilt feelings, no more guilty feelings, my people pleasers.
Boundaries are good. Take vacations.
I feel like that's a good place to end this episode. If you guys have any more questions about boundaries, if you're feeling guilty about any of your boundaries right now, and if you just need someone to talk it out with, our DMs are always open. Instagram is at Cameras and Car Seats, and always feel free to comment in our Facebook group. It's starting to grow a little bit, and we're also all over Threads right now. We love chatting with you guys on Threads.
Threads is it.
All right. Well, we will see you on next week's episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye. See you Tuesday.